the campus of Volunteer State Community College. This is Inside Politics.
Welcome to Inside Politics. I'm Amie Lara.
And I'm Nancy Hauskins. Our fall series of programs introducing you to the candidates for the governor in 2010 continues today with our special guest, Knoxville Mayor Bill Haslam, who's seeking the Republican nomination for governor. And we certainly welcome you, Mayor, for taking time out of your busy schedule and campaigning to be here with us.
Thanks. I've been looking forward to being here. Thanks for having me.
Well, certainly you're well known in East Tennessee as the Knoxville Mayor, but for those of us here in Middle Tennessee, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Born and raised in Knoxville. Lived there all my life. Met my wife, Chrissy, in college. Chrissy's from Memphis. And we were married about a year out of school. We have 3 children grown. A son, Will, who's 24. He married his high school girlfriend, Hannah. They got married last year. And we think we have the world's greatest daughter-in-law. A daughter, Annie, who's 22, just out of school, and another daughter, Lee, who's in her junior year of college. So have been in Knoxville all my life, and have ran for mayor the first time in 2003. Prior to that, it's been 25 years in business, and have loved that experience. Thought that experience was great in terms of preparing me to be mayor, and ran for mayor in 2003. And ran again in 2007, was reelected. And I've loved the job of being mayor. It's a wonderful chance to make a difference. And being in local politics, I tell people all the time, it's a hands-on job where you can make a difference, but you better be used to people being able to get their hands on you too. Right. Because you see people in church, in the grocery store, and everywhere else, and if they have an issue, they don't mind telling you about it, but that's what makes local government great. And I've had all sorts of great people grab me in the middle of all sorts of situations, from the middle of the offering at church to after a funeral is over.
It's like being a doctor when they always say, my elbow hurts,
Exactly.
Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, exactly. But that's okay, and that's part of what you sign up. And again, it's what makes the job fun. It's about solving problems, and it's why I've loved it.
Good.
Well, why did you decide to run for governor?
Well, I guess going back to a little bit of what I just said, I have loved the experience of being mayor, and I always thought it mattered who served in office. I've been involved politically, never run for office myself. I guess I first helped in Lamar Alexander's gubernatorial campaign back in 1978. I thought I'd get involved in a campaign. I thought it'd be great fun. I had in mind, political strategy. Lamar had in mind putting up yard signs. I put up a lot of yard signs. But like I said, I've been involved in the political process, in the 30-plus years since then, and I've always thought it mattered. But once I served in office as mayor, I saw that who we elect to positions really impacts so many things, and a person's experience, their character, and their values dramatically impact how they carry off that office. And I looked out and thought, I love the experience of being mayor. Like I said, looking back, I love being in business, but professionally running for mayor and having the chance to be mayor for the last 6+ years, I think has been the best professional decision I've made. So I started thinking seriously about a year ago about running for governor, and you go through kind of a process, not unlike deciding to do anything else. You have to decide, well, personally, are you willing to do it? I mean, by the time the election happens, I'll have been running for almost 2 years. So you decide, is that what you want to do? And that's something you get with your wife and children, in my case, and your close friends, and say, is this the right thing for us? You talk with friends, talk with family, pray about it, decide, is it right? And obviously we decided it was. Second, I think you have the really more important, or kind of the next big question is, what's needed right now for this job? I think one of the mistakes people make in politics a lot is they think, well, every political job's the same. Being the mayor is the same thing as being a sheriff. Being a senator is the same thing as being a governor, but they're not. Being a governor is an executive job that requires a certain skill set. And so I thought, well, what are the big issues facing Tennessee? And I went through and talked to people all over the state, spent a lot of time studying, thinking through the issues, and in the end, I think the big issues facing the state, and I'm sure we'll talk about a lot more, revolve around jobs. We obviously face a critical job situation, K-12 education, and education in general, where we're behind the curve, if you will, as a state. And third, facing a very difficult budget situation as a state. And so you have to decide, well, do I want to do it? What are the issues, and can I help? And when I thought through what are the main issues, I think they are things that I can speak directly to out of experience and knowledge.
How has campaigning been for you to this point? Because obviously, as you just mentioned, it is very different from running for mayor.
It really is. I mean, well, in some ways it's the same. In the end, people want to look you in the eye and think, how do I feel about this person? And so, when I ran for mayor, we literally knocked on 12,000 doors all around the city, and it's one of the things that I think helped us get elected, but it also helped me as mayor. I mean, talking to that many people, I'm convinced. I had a pretty tough first election as mayor. The second one was a lot easier, but I'm convinced that process of talking to that many people in that many different situations, not with a prescribed my agenda. I'm here to talk to you today about whatever, but talking about what was on their minds and hearts really made me a better mayor. And so it's really, in some ways, it's running citywide and running statewide. They're the same basics. It's just bigger, more spread out, a lot more driving. And in this case, I'm already a full-time mayor, so you're carrying off 2 full-time jobs. And quite frankly, everybody in the race is. So it's one of the unique things about this is I'd say all of us have 2 40-hour-a-week jobs at the same time.
And you don't have to pound your own yard signs this time.
That's right. Lamar owes me a few. No,
that's right.
That's right. So yeah, it is bigger. I mean, you obviously, part of the challenge in this situation is you build an organization, and that's a lot of what we're doing now, and we'll probably talk about that later in the interview.
Sure.
But there's some really good parts. People say, gosh, your campaign's almost 2 years. How hard is that? Well, the reality is it's good. Like I said, those 2 years allow you to have a lot more conversations than you might have without it. Another good part, quite frankly, is it's one of the few jobs you can do with your spouse. Chrissy is with me about 95% of the time, and there's just not a lot of jobs you can do that with. And so as we're going around the state learning and listening, she's with me. She adds, I can't tell you how many times, poor woman, she has to listen to me speak about 7 times a day, but how many times she'll come back and say, Bill, you're saying this, and I'm not sure people understand, you need to clarify that. And it's just great to have somebody that who is for you, right, who's with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, is the ability to raise funds the most important aspect of the race so far?
I don't think it is. I think any race is a combination of a lot of things. To be successful, you have to do a lot of things well. And I look back at how we've spent our time so far. It's really a combination, I think, of 3 things. The very first thing is, I think you have to do a great job of understanding the issues. So we've worked hard and understand everything from healthcare issues. We've had, untold numbers of healthcare roundtables, to small business issues. We had another one today. We've probably done that 25, 30 times with groups of people. To stand on people's front porch when we knock on their doors, to visiting, the state's newest correctional facility to understand the prison system, to visiting institutions of higher education like this one and others, to spending time in elementary schools. The first job, like I said, is to understand the issues. And if you don't do that, then you're really not preparing yourself well. And the problem is the urgency of a campaign. There's always, one more dollar to raise, or one more person to meet, or one more speech to give. But if in the process of that, if you don't go really work hard to understand what's happening right now, then you're doing yourself a disservice and the people as well. So the first thing I'd say is you got to learn the issues, and you have to know those well and understand all the aspects of it, from the different philosophies behind what that issue is, but also the financial ramifications. And there's big budget implications to everything. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing is, there's 95 counties, and we're working hard. Just in October alone, we were in 31 different counties in 31 days, and we're working hard, but you can't be everywhere. So you have to be about building an organization of people who are for you and support you. And, even if I'm not back in, such and such county for another 4 or 5 weeks, there's people there who are working for us and doing that. So we're working hard to build a good network of people who are for us like that across the state and can help. And then finally, raising money is a part of the equation. It costs about $450,000 a week for a week's worth of statewide advertising. Well, those are significant numbers, obviously. And so you have to be able to do that. But it's not really in that case, even the fundraising is part of the process, because when somebody decides to give to your campaign, they're saying, I really care. I'm committed to this. And we're flattered that more people in numbers have given to our campaign at this point in time than any campaign in history in the state of Tennessee at this point in time, in terms of the number of people who've given. And we think that's a significant barometer of support.